currently in about 35 different countries around the world, and we tend to specialize in non-traditional destinations, and it is field-based experiential study abroad. So a lot of other programs are, campus-based university exchange programs where you go abroad, you take classes at a university campus. And so SIT is just different from that in the sense that we are, as I said, field-based. So we're focusing on a specific theme, and it's a lot of out of the classroom experiences relevant to the topic. And so you're immersed in the topic, and it's as much about what it is that you're studying as it is where you're going. And so, you would focus around a specific subject area that really speaks to your interests and your academic goals. Students generally live with homestay families, and you do tend to travel around quite a bit throughout the host country. So you have a program base, but you're not necessarily in one location the entire time. You are moving around the country to different sites of academic relevance to what we're learning about. So these are the different critical global issues that the programs will focus upon. And so every program is going to fall into at least one of these categories. And as I said, this is going to be the theme that you are really focusing upon. And then you're diving into different aspects of that topic within the context of the country that you're studying in. So as I said, we're all around the world, so about 35 different countries representing every continent on the globe. It's not on this map, but actually we do also even go to Antarctica in one of our programs. So we cover all 7 continents, and as I said, it's studying those different topics. And the general sort of structure of the way that a program tends to work, obviously it varies from location to location, but the overarching structure that you're going to have is these core program elements described here. So everybody arrives. You have about a week-long period of orientation where you're getting acclimated to the local society, setting expectations, learning about the structure of the program and getting accustomed to all of that. We generally have different activities to acclimate you to the environment that you're going to be living in, the city, the neighborhood, things like that. And then you're going to move in with your homestay family. And so for most students, this is really a big highlight of the semester, is that you are living with the local homestay family. A lot of folks will oftentimes, at first it's sort of a nerve-wracking experience in the sense that maybe you're at college now, you're living in a residence hall, you're living in an off-campus apartment maybe, and people feel like moving in with a homestay family might be sort of like moving back in with their parents. But that's certainly not the case at all. You do have your own room, you have your own independence to come and go and things like that. But really the homestay experience provides you with a window into the culture and the society of the country where you're studying. And so, you learn about issues in the context of this country, and then you have the opportunity to see how they are in real life for the people who are from that actual country. And across the board, more than 90% of students say that that's such an invaluable highlight of their experience, because it really enhances their understanding of the host country where they've studied and of the material that they've studied throughout the semester. So during the first sort of 3 months or so of the semester, you're immersed in your course content. And so that's when you're living with your homestay family, you're taking different seminar classes, and you're going on different academic excursions around the country and around the host community to sites of relevance to what we're learning about. And so, yes, there are days where you'll be in a classroom like what you're accustomed to at Brandeis, where you're taking notes, you're watching a presentation and things like that. But more often than not, it's a lot of out of the classroom experiences around that topic. And so you'll move around to different places, you'll meet with different experts. So just to give an example, like on programs focusing on global health, which are quite popular, class schedules will include going to the Ministry of Public Health in that host country, going to local clinics, going to local grassroots community health organizations, traveling outside the host city to another part of the country to see the way that healthcare systems operate in different communities around the country, sometimes traveling into neighboring countries in the region where your program is based to get a comparative international perspective. So all of that is quite common. And so you will, again, move around a lot and be out of the classroom more often than not, seeing the way things really operate in the real world around that topic. And then for the final month of the semester, we're generally done with the excursions, the courses, and that component of the program. And then you're immersed in your experiential capstone. And so that's the period of the semester where you're done with your other courses, so you've completed that segment, and then you have usually 4 credits of independent study or field work around the topic of your program. So that's where you really can tailor the program to what you want it to be about, because you are narrowing down throughout the semester, narrowing down the details of what it is you specifically want to know more about, what's a focused question that you really want to learn more about in the context of this country and in the context of that topic. And then you'll gradually throughout the semester, with the help of the SIT faculty and staff, iron out the details of what you want to do. So by the time you get to that last month of the semester, you have a clear outline of, this is what I'm going to be studying, this is what my independent study or fieldwork is going to be, these are the deadlines I've set with myself, these are the people I'm going to be interviewing, these are the people who are going to be touching base with me to support me along the way. And so you have all of that worked out, and then you're just devoted to that for that last month of the semester, where you're doing a lot of work on your own with support, but a lot of independent work around a topic that you really want to know more about in the context of the country and of the program theme. And then for the last several days of the semester, everybody reconvenes and there's a final presentation and evaluations about what it is that you accomplished for that academic capstone. This is that that structure that I just mentioned. I did forget to mention earlier. So during that course-based period, the coursework period of the semester, we do also incorporate language study into the program. So for most programs, you don't have to know another language prior to going on the program. In most locations, English is going to be the language of instruction for the content of the program, with the exception generally of programs in Latin America. Usually, not all of them, but usually have some sort of Spanish language prerequisite. So normally around 3 semesters of college level Spanish prior to going on the program. For most other locations, there's no language prerequisite, but of course, if you do speak the language of a particular country, if you have some background with that language, of course, that can only help you. But if you don't, then you would just take an entry-level language class that would be a component of the program. And that's going to give you a lot of skills and background information on the host society and the host culture, as well as giving you the practical skills of being able to get around, on a day-to-day basis. And then I do like to show if this will work.
We are immersed in wonderful opportunities for learning with theory meet real lived realities. Right now, the world is extremely divided, and we need these skills, and this is definitely a place where that is every part of life.
I chose to come to SIT because I want to understand how to help humanity, both here in the United States and abroad.
There's this constant application of deep theory to practical skills.
It's important that we understand the things that are going on.
It's a great opportunity to not only learn more about part of the world that you may have never heard about, but also you find yourself here.
One of the things about SIT is it's the students and how they care about social change and humanity.
So we're reading something, we're analyzing something, then we're engaging it hands-on.
It's not enough to just have the theory. You have to be able to prove that you can apply that theory.
Because it really prepares you what you're going to be going into yourself.
You feel that energy and that drive. It's like, man, I need to be doing something. I need to get stuff done.
It's where you have to be.
The opportunities SIT gave me, I could not have gotten anywhere else. And I'm so proud to say that I went to SIT. It's innovative, it's interesting, and exciting. This is absolutely worth my time, and I'm so glad that I chose SIT.
Cool. So that's just, again, a general overview about what SIT is like. And I hope that provides with some background information that's helpful as you're investigating different opportunities for international education. And of course, if anybody's got any questions right now, please feel free to ask. Also in the chat, I'm going to put my email address down. So it's just my first name dot my last name at sit.edu, craig.mcdonald@sit.edu. So if you have questions afterwards, if you want to take that down and just shoot me a message whenever you get the chance, that's also, I'm available as you're looking at your options. We are accepting applications now for the upcoming fall 2021 semester. Rolling applications going into the month of May. I usually do recommend that students complete their applications at least a month before the published deadline, because a lot of times programs will fill up in advance of that deadline. So if you have a program that particularly speaks to you that you really want to learn, make sure you reserve a place in. then absolutely, as soon as you've made a decision, be sure to go ahead and get all your materials submitted to us. And of course, be sure to check with Ashley or check with your specific advisor at the Brandeis Office of Study Abroad to help guide you through that. There's a form that Brandeis will fill out for you, and then there's other information that they can give you just about making sure that you're following all the policies you need to make everything go smoothly with Brandeis. So yeah, any questions? Anything else?
I guess I'll ask a question. It's something that I hear a lot from students is like, well, so you have all these opportunities for independent study or for internships at the end of the program, but like, what does that actually look like, and how do I decide what I'm going to do, and what does that process look like? I think sometimes people can be nervous going into an experience, not quite knowing what their project is going to be. So what's your experience in terms of working with students on that?
Yeah, so in the application, it does ask you to describe what your ideal capstone would be for the program. And so, do you want to do an internship in that location? Do you want to do an independent study project? Or if it's a location where some other option is available, what do you want to pursue for that final component of the program, which, as I said earlier, is usually 4 credits. Sometimes it's 5, but it depends on the location, but usually 4 credits, and it's approximately a 1-month period at the end of the semester. So in that section, I usually tell people, write a paragraph or 2 describing what you think, would make sense for you based on your current interests, based on the theme of the program. But don't worry too much about the specifics at this stage, because it is very flexible. So you don't necessarily have to know every minute detail of what it is you're going to do just yet. You don't have to have an exhaustive list of every specific thing that you plan to accomplish, because you're going to discover a lot of things when you get there. So more often than not, students end up actually doing something which is different from what they initially thought they would before they went on the program. Because throughout the semester, you're going to be meeting all different lecturers, all different experts, all different practitioners around the topic of your program. You're going to be visiting different places in the country around the topic of your program. So throughout the semester, you're going to discover stuff that you might not have known before, and then that will inform what it is that you choose to do. So as I said, usually by the time we get into like the 3rd month of the semester, you'll have a lot of those details ironed out at that point, but you don't have to necessarily know exactly what you're doing beforehand. And so I would just say, as far as that's concerned, write what you think makes sense for you as of right now going into a program, but also have an open mind and know that it's not going to be set in stone. And know that, again, more often than not, people end up, really solidifying what it is they're going to do once they get to a program. And it's just very exciting. I think that, you have this last month of the semester where you have a lot of flexibility. Again, as I said, you can really tailor the program to what you want it to be about, really narrow down on specific issues that are, meaningful to you, that are exciting to you. In most locations, you have a lot of flexibility as well to go to other parts of the country for that component, as long as it's safe for you to be there, and as long as there's infrastructure in place to support you in that location and it's relevant to the topic of your research. You could choose to travel to another part of the country and live for that month in another part of the host country to do research there and potentially explore a new region of the country around the specific topic of what it is that you're studying. So it's just really a cool option that you have this month-long period to be devoted to something that you're really interested in, that you're really passionate about. And a lot of students will report that they, that opened a lot of doors, because when they got home to their home institution, it informed, like what classes they chose to take when they get back, and what internships and other opportunities they chose to pursue when they got home, and maybe, maybe it influences future graduate studies, future careers, things like that. So it's really a great opportunity to explore, a particular topic within your overarching program theme, and again, get credit for it. It's not just a side thing that you're doing. It's a standalone component of the program. An example I love to give, actually, as I recently learned that he was an SIT alum. If anybody watches Animal Planet, there's a show on there. It's called Dr. Evan Goes Wild. And if you Google this guy, I'll just type his name in the chat right now. Dr. Evan Anton. He's a veterinarian from California who has his own show on Animal Planet. He was in People magazine last year as like the sexiest veterinarian in America, something like that. And so he's an alum of SIT. He went to University of Colorado, went on our program in Tanzania, which focuses on wildlife protection and resource management. And he's said in interviews and in articles and things like that, that his SIT independent study is what made him want to become a veterinarian, right? So like he ended up doing research in a national park in the north of Tanzania, studying elephant conservation. And then that really influenced, that's what made him decide, you know, I want to be a veterinarian. I want to work with different endangered animals, and that's his profession now, and he has his own TV show. So it's just kind of a cool, you know, example, and there's so many examples like that where, you know, folks ended up, you know, exploring something new in the context of their program, and then it ended up in, you know, having a real impact on their future studies and their future academic and professional goals.
Awesome, thanks. Anyone else have any questions for Craig? If not, I have another one.
Anybody? Yeah.
Another thing I've been hearing from students is questions about homestays and kind of how that works. How do you match people? How do you know what's going to be a good fit for a homestay and a student?
Yeah. So in the application, it's going to ask you a few questions about that. And then what happens is your entire application package does get sent to the location that you're ultimately going to be studying in. And at each of our locations, we have a person whose specific job is to manage housing requirements and housing needs throughout the semester. So that's a person who meets with all the homestay families prior to a student's arrival, who's responsible for matching students with homestay families that he or she believes will be a good fit. If issues were to arise, this would be someone that the students can talk to navigate those issues. And then when students are doing their independent study project at the end of the semester, this is someone who they talk to as well to help them, iron out the details of housing, especially if they're going to be traveling to another part of the country for that component of the semester. And so there's just know that there's a specific person whose job it is to read through your application to get a feel for the type of person that you are and to match you with someone that he or she believes is going to be a good fit. If you have any concerns, though, about that prior to the program, you can absolutely, and this is helpful and welcome, is if you want to reach out to us to share your concerns or to ask about, issues around, specific things needs that you may have or concerns that you have, absolutely reach out to us and we can have a discussion with you about that. And if you did have specific needs, those are things that we can bring to that homestay coordinator so that he or she is aware when trying to make those plans. Because of course, the essays you write in your application aren't necessarily going to, provide a 100% comprehensive view of the exact type of person that you are. So if you had other things that you wanted us to know about homestays, your concerns, your fears, your desires, let us know, and we can also take that into consideration. But the idea being that this, as I said earlier, is like a window into the culture and the society of that country. It's one thing to go on a program about public health and read about the way that the health system works in that country, or go on a program about environmental studies and read about and listen in class about, the way that, the environment is viewed in the society where you are. But it's so much of another thing. It's so much more valuable when you then are having the opportunity to have those one-on-one conversations with people who you're spending time with, who are from that country, who really share their views and their concerns and their perspective. It really educates you even more and just enhances the quality of the education that you're getting, no matter what the topic is that you're studying. And as I said, across the board in all different types of programs, in all different types of, locations, students widely report that, absolutely the homestay is like the best thing that they did, and it is, the relationships that they make, stay with them, for years and years and years, and the impact that has is such a positive impact. So it's one of those things where, and I had that concern too when I was studying abroad. I'm a little older than you guys, but when I was doing this, how's it going to be? What's it going to be like? I went from living in an off-campus apartment, coming and going, having everything being according to my own wants and needs, to then having to, live in a room in someone's house where, there were certain rules I had to adhere to. So it wasn't restrictive, but rules I had to adhere to, and, times I needed to be there and times I needed to get back by and things like that. And I was concerned about what that would be like. But in my own case as well, it was a unbelievably rewarding experience. And my homestay family, as is often the case, families come in all shapes and sizes, right? So my homestay family was 2 sisters in their 50s. They were both divorced. And so they were living together, sharing expenses. And then one of the sisters' sons, who was my age, who also lived in the apartment. And so it was like, an unconventional family, and we all got along really well. And I'm still super close with all of them. We write Christmas cards to each other. We talk to each other. And then that son is now like a close friend of mine. And this is, more than a decade later. We're still good friends. We still text each other all the time. We still talk often. We've visited each other. He's come to the United States to hang out with me. So it's like meaningful friendships that came out of that homestay. And that's something that, again, students, share across the board, that they have really lasting relationships, in addition to enhancing their understanding of the country, the society, the culture. It also is, just meaningful, personally enriching experience to have those connections with local folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
So,
awesome.
Anything
well,
else?
If any more questions, yeah, we can let Craig go, but his email's in the chat. If you have additional questions, you can always feel free to reach out to us, and we can put you in contact with SIT as well if you want more information. We also have a study abroad ambassador, Tamara Boteri, who went on SIT Switzerland, the diplomacy program. Great. So if you want an insider's view of what students' experience was like on an SIT program, she's also a good person to connect with, and we're happy to connect you to her too. But thanks so much for joining us, Craig. This was great.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And as I said, if anyone has any questions too, my email's in there, and I also put the website in there, sit.edu. And we look forward to hearing from you, and wish everybody the best with their study abroad plans, and with the rest of the current semester.
Thanks.
Great. Yeah. Take care. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.